Greetings all, Ferrari 601 here. Today we're going to do a little bit of a review of F1 RFT 2013, the rFactor 2 mod based off of the 2013 Formula 1 season. Now this mod has been out for quite some time, but it's kind of been hidden away on some remote recesses of the internet, and finally I've been able to get my hands on it. I finally found it off of the ISI forums. They had a download link there, and installed it last night, and so far, first impressions are good. This is version 1.25. It's the single-player version, so that means different physics for all the different cars. And I'm going to start here by just giving you a brief overview of the cars that are included. Of course, the entire 2013 grid has been replicated and is represented here. And start from the top, shall we? The Red Bull RB9. Red Bull's to-date last championship winner. This is Vettel's version. Very, very, very good models. Very, very good textures so far everywhere on this mod. Still getting used to the RF2 spinner. It's a little temperamental, but see the great detail there on the front wheels with the little air extractor fairings that they were still playing with. Of course, the rears. The diffusers, which were clamped down for that year. And of course, being the last year for the V8s, the twin exhaust out the back with the coanda ramps, trying to funnel that exhaust gas toward the diffuser so that they could do some exhaust blowing, at least over the upper element of the diffuser. Because lest we forget that after 2011, when everybody had those miraculous exhaust systems that were exiting in the actual diffuser vanes on the underside, they banned all of that, as his burniness always does, and the teams had to be a little bit more creative. So we've got that going on. Great detail here on the front end. That front wing, very, very complicated. And all of these little elements on the wing do detach if you happen to run into something at not so high a grade of speed. So yeah, these cars are quite sensitive in all respects, be it damage or physics. You can see Vettel's helmet, well, one of his helmets for that year has been replicated there, sitting on the right front wheel. And then of course the livery of the car. As I said, the textures are fantastic. I don't know if there's a way to zoom in this. No, there isn't. Oh, there we go. See the cockpit detail in there? It's great. You'll see that better, obviously, once you're in the car. But the steering wheel's great. The dash works. Everything on the dash works. And, yeah. Pretty cool. Let's get to the other cars here. We'll go down. Show you the Sauber. And Sauber had this wonderful livery for 2013. This is one of my favorite F1 cars ever. No, it wasn't particularly quick, but it was lovely. The 2012 Sauber was lovely as well. But, yeah, very, very much liking what RFT have done here. Toro Rosso. And obviously this segment in the video is going to be quite axiomatic, just trying to give you a little bit of an idea of what all the cars look like. I have not driven all of the cars yet in this mod, it should be said, but yeah, so far I'm impressed. So far I've driven the Red Bull, the Ferrari, and the Mercedes. Nothing else. No, and the Williams. Driven the Williams briefly. Speaking of, not a wonderful year for Williams. Is it ever a wonderful year for Williams? But have a look at that. I mean, this is what we were talking about actually back then when these cars were racing. But have a look at how narrow that rear end is on the Williams. They were so keen to package everything so tightly to develop this very small gearbox that they could just shrink wrap with the bodywork, just trying to get as much air as possible, again, to that rear end, which is so critical for stability on these cars. Nice reflections there off of the paint, and of course the cockpit detail. Very, very cool. Moving up the grid, the Mercedes. Again, I have driven this car somewhat extensively, very impressed. You can see how it won a couple races that year. Love the livery. Love those reflections. Those diffuse reflections there. And then, of course, cockpit surround. All of this stuff. You can't even see this stuff when you're actually playing the game. So it's so cool that they have gone through the lengths that they did to detail all of these things. The wheels there, very similar to the ones on the Red Bull. The brake discs and calipers in there. Underbody detail, the tongue there, or the T-tray, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic. McLaren, let's not talk about McLaren's 2013 season. Oh yeah, it was actually better than the current one. Let me tell you, I had a very, very, very sobering thought before, but McLaren have been doing so badly for the last few seasons now that I don't think it's inconceivable that the team could actually collapse. It's absolutely mind-blowing to think that this is a possibility, but McLaren have not scored so many points this year. They're going to finish maybe 7th or 8th in the championship. That TV revenue is just not going to be coming. So sponsors aren't going to want to sign up. They're already not signing up. And of course, development costs in Formula One never go down, and driver salaries never go down. So McLaren are in some big trouble. Just pointing that out. This 2013 car was not something to write home about either. A similar treatment on the rear end as you saw on the Red Bull, with the Coanda exhausts, trying to blow the inner surfaces of the rear wheels, again just trying to get in that tire squirt area and seal the diffuser as best as possible. The Marussia. MR02. Nice. Diffuser detail there. It's pretty cool. Ooh, inside the car. There's the cockpit. Huh. Kinda glitched in there. The Lotus. Leave him alone, he says. Yeah, nice gold rims. I've not driven the Lotus yet. Actually, somewhat keen to get a go in it. It won in Australia, and then didn't really do much else for the rest of the season. But yeah, Lotus was one of the better cars, at least in the beginning of the season. It kind of trailed off toward midway, but yeah, great detail. That's a funky looking steering wheel. Huh. Maybe we'll have to drive that one. Force India. Again, very, very nice livery. Very, very cool. Everything's very crisp. I mean, don't zoom in too close and then you start to see the pixelation, but I mean, at reasonable distances where you could expect to be seeing this car on track, looks great. Absolutely great. And again, everything in the cockpit replicated wonderfully. Steering wheels are obviously correct for each car. Can't complain. The Ferrari. The F138. So all the teams going for the very high nose for this last year of the V8s, trying to channel as much air as possible into the under tray. Again, to feed that diffuser that they kept trying to restrict, and teams kept having to find workarounds for, and then eventually 2014 came along and Formula One crapped its pants. But yeah, the Ferrari looking very nice. All that ducting in the engine cover very nicely replicated there. Even the backside of the steering wheel is done with the paddles for the gears and the clutch, and those two switches on the sides, which I'm not quite sure what the functionality of those is, but I assume they control all kinds of different systems. Very, very cool. And last but, yes, definitely least, the Caterham. Yes, the team that are fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to call it, no longer with us. Again, it's what you expect. Nothing spectacular, yet nothing underwhelming, put it that way. But yeah, great modeling job, great textures, and great everything else, as you will see. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of these cars, and we're going to drive it, and then we're going to contrast it to another car from the other end of the grid. So I want to try and contrast the two different extremes of physics in this mod, again, because it is single player, and we have different physics for each car. So we're going to pick a car from the front of the grid and a car from the back of the grid, and I'm going to give you the blow-by-blow analysis of how good or how bad each one is. Welcome back. Welcome to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, or shall we say Dry Lagoon. Yeah, never quite understood the name of this track, unless there at one time was an inland sea here. In any case, Laguna Seca, the Caterham from 2013, is going to be the first victim for our driven review. You can see once everything is loaded up on track, the model still looks resplendent. The reflections are a little bit more finely detailed now that we're actually on the circuit, but just wonderful. Absolutely glorious, the detail. Have a look at those wheels. Might be my favorite feature on any of these cars. Just, it looks great. It absolutely looks great. And of course, the cockpit where all the business happens. Having a look around, just see that everything is as expected. Steering wheel, very, very nicely detailed. And we'll switch the ignition on, and now the dash comes to life with all of the information that one might expect. Up and down through the gears. Marvelous. All the functionalities, we're starting to roll a little bit, all of the functionalities that you might expect on these cars replicated very, very nicely. Actually, well, obviously, pit lane speed limiter and all of that. There's no launch control or anything like that. You have 3 different engine modes. So mode 1 is full revs, mode 2, and then mode 3. They're basically rev limiters, as far as I can tell. The power delivery seems pretty much the same. But mode 3 will limit you to 17,000 revs. Mode 2 is around 17.5, and then mode 1 is the full 18,000. So we'll start in mode 3. The other functionality, you have anti-stall, which is great. And of course the anti-stall is quite realistic because these cars obviously don't have internal starters, so they cannot be restarted once they're on track. So anti-stall sometimes is very, very handy. We'll demonstrate that right now, actually. So we'll pop it into neutral and we'll start the engine, and I'll just show you how the anti-stall works. Alright, so we're fired up, and of course you get to hear the sounds too. Not too bad. So we're gonna clutch in first gear, and just gonna pop the clutch. Anti-stall activated. Press clutch to deactivate. You don't get any warning on the dash about this. The only, if you don't see what's in the left side of the screen there, if you don't happen to see it, and of course the engine just died, is you'll be in first gear without the clutch engaged, and you won't be stalling, so whatever. The anti-stall is on like a 10-second timer, so let's trigger it here. And I'm not counting. I don't know if you are, but the engine will eventually die. The car will just switch itself off. Yeah, there we go. About 10 seconds, I would say. And that's just to keep the engine from overheating, because the cars do not have active cooling systems either. They have to be driven through the air to get air into those radiators. So in any event, the normal procedure for recovering from anti-stall is, first gear, clutch in, and then you could just use the clutch to pull away as normal. So pit limiter on, second gear. Very tight pit out here at Laguna Seca. The other functionality, of course, replicated up and down the grid on this mod, DRS. And on this circuit, there really isn't anywhere where DRS can be used to any effect, but you can trigger it whenever you want. The yellow lights on the upper corners of the steering wheel, now they're green. DRS is activated, and I come off the throttle, and DRS automatically deactivates. Very nice. And of course, that is... I'll go to the outside view here for a second. DRS won't activate if I'm not in gear. Interesting. DRS open and DRS closed. You saw it work there. Here are the external sounds. They are basically the default Formula IS sounds from rFactor 1. I mean, they're generic Formula 1 V8 from 06 to 13, so can't really complain. I do wish that they had replicated some of the pops and bangs that these cars made on the overrun, but can't get everything. As you can hear, the internal sounds here from the cockpit are pretty good. There's really no upshift sound so much. But on the real cars, I guess you don't really hear that either, because the engines just overpower everything else. There is a considerable thunk on the downshift, though. And again, we're running in mode 3, so don't have full revs on the engine. You can see it hits the limiter at 17,000. Try to get on it here as much as we can. And mode 1. So we'll come onto the straight and we will get full revs.
The lap was a 1:14.42.
A little squirrely there on throttle and understeer through the corner. Wow, yeah. Already, I'm comparing this to the Red Bull, basically, which is the next car we're going to drive. We'll take the worst car on the grid and then the best car on the grid. Yeah, this is quite a ways off of what the Red Bull can do. Just don't have the rear grip, basically, and then we get mid-corner understeer. But much rather have understeer than oversteer. See what the lap is. I can manage like 104s in the Red Bull so far. Probably won't be too far off.
That was a 1:08.3.
All right, 108. These cars are about 3.5 seconds slower than the sharp end of the grid on high downforce tracks like this, so to be expected. Yeah, this corner in particular, I never try to drive to the numbers, but that corner we just went through, the Red Bull will take it at 150. This, barely 130. Red Bull will take this in 6th. Caterham, you're feathering it all the way through in 5th. So there's the difference right there. I will say, though, that even this Caterham has more rear grip than the 2014 and 2015 cars. So take that as you will. And locks up. Basically the only place we could safely use DRS.
That was a 1:08.3.
I'll be happy if we can break into the 107s. Jeez, third gear still spinning the wheels. Fourth gear still spinning the wheels. Ha! Yeah, 130 and it's understeering all the way through. That's pretty sobering when you're 25 miles an hour slower in apex speed than the fastest car.
That was a 1:07.89.
There we go, 107. I am pleased. Car feels like it's got a little bit more in it, but for the purposes of this review, I'm not going to bore you trying to thrash a Caterham. I'm also not working particularly hard. You know, just trying to keep it together to give you a sense of what things feel like. For the most part, though, the car feels stable. It doesn't feel like it's about to swap ends on me every 5 seconds like the 2014 and 15 cars do. I mean, to be quite honest, the difference between 2014 and 2013, it's night and day in terms of rear grip, except for cars like the Mercedes. But even they are quite slippery. This thing, I have confidence to throw it at an apex, even though it's the Caterham. I mean, you know, could not do that in the 2014 machine.
That was a 1:07.70.
Yeah, we're making marginal improvements now. We're getting pretty close to what this car can do on this track on this day. But yeah, there aren't any surprises. I'm expecting mid-corner understeer like that, missing apexes and things like that. But at least I can plan for it and react accordingly. Now, I would love to see Formula One come to Laguna Seca. I'd love to see how they negotiate the corkscrew. But, like I said, the circuit is not up to snuff in terms of safety. And there's pretty much no place to use DRS, except for maybe right here. But, again, I don't think the current crop of cars has enough rear downforce to use DRS over the crest here.
7.54.
Yeah, we're getting about 2/10 a lap now. I can put that down to fuel load, pretty sure. Having to balance the throttle through the corners quite a bit. You can't just get on it like you can in the Red Bull, as you'll see. Now we're going to box this lap. But yeah, the tires feel good. The gearbox is great. The engine actually feels pretty good too. The weak spot on this car is certainly not the engine. And the same engine as you'll find in the Red Bull and the Lotus. To cut the clutch in there. But yeah, all the weaknesses on this car are certainly aerodynamic in nature. But in any event, that's the Caterham. And yeah, pleased. Again, not the fastest car, not the most fun to drive, but again, it gives you enough confidence to give you a sense of, yeah, I could do this for a race distance. And so far it speaks volumes about how good this mod really is, because even though this is the crappiest car on the grid, still, it's reasonable. Also, perhaps it gives you a sense of how good the regs were until 2014. I mean, no, the cars weren't pretty, but they were fast. So, be that as it may, I'll stop the social commentary now and just get on with the Red Bull. And welcome back to Laguna Seca, and here's the Red Bull RB9 in all of its glory. Yes. Very nice. Very, very nice. Awesome. Alright, without further ado, let's get in the cockpit and drive the stupid thing. Alright. Again, you get the same engine modes in all the cars. They do pretty much the same thing in all the cars. Just taking it easy, getting some heat in the tires and some heat in the brakes. The brakes are also pretty accurately emulated. They don't work so well until they get up to temperature. So running here in American, we've got all of our temperatures in Fahrenheit, obviously. You can't really lean on them until they're up to around 800 Fahrenheit. And then, of course, they operate in that range. Right, so, Mode 1 on the engine, or as Mercedes call it, Strat 1. Straight away, confidence to brake and downshift straight into the apex. And unlike the Caterham, no wheel spin in 4th gear on this car. Should point out that I am running as near as possible to the same setup as the Caterham for this session. The setup actually was done on the RB9 at first. I transferred it over to the Caterham and now vice versa. Slight difference in fuel load, but I mean, in terms of all the dampers and tire pressures and things like that, we are identical. And straight away, I mean, we managed to get into the 107s in the Caterham. Straight away, we're going to be at least in the 105s. Not this lap, the next. There we go. Low 105s, almost in the 104s. So, I mean, already we're almost 3 seconds a lap quicker. And I'm still taking it easy through this corner because the front tires are still not quite hooked up. But able to get on the power so much sooner than in the Caterham. It's ridiculous. Noticing what might be a slight error in the way the lights are working here in the cockpit. Look on the steering wheel when we get out of direct sunlight. See the yellow lights? The upper right and left? Those are the DRS status lights. If I remember correctly, Red Bull had those lights on the dash. But DRS open. You see they turned green? I was looking up on the dash to see those green lights. And those lights just weren't there. Thought maybe DRS wasn't working, but then I found them. I don't know if that's accurate or not, terms of the way they really were on the RB9. Have to find some onboard footage. Overcooked it a little bit, but as you can see, the car is quite recoverable. Such is the level of downforce. A little bit of a confidence lift. A little understeer, a little bit too quick on entry there. But that's what you could do in this thing. Yep, already in the mid 104s, and we are we're light on fuel, but we're not running on fumes by any means. Look at that, 6th gear. There's my number, 150 on exit. Fantastic. Lap's going to be a good one. Ha! Holy crap. I think that's a lap record for me in this thing. Again, I haven't driven it a lot and haven't really been pushing on too much with it, but I think I'm going as fast as I have, at least. Hesitated on the throttle there because I pulled the paddle to upshift, but I couldn't see the dash, and I wasn't sure if we were actually in gear. And overcook it a little bit on entry, but we can save it for the exit. Tire's also starting to go off a little. Wow! And I felt that lap was scruffy. That's how consistent this car is. Sixth gear, feathering it a little bit, but I mean, that's grip. And on the power already. And you can see in the lower right, all the temperatures very well under control. Water temperatures below 200. That's what we aim for. A little bit of rear locking there, snatched it to the right, but, oop. Yeah, you can see the tires are going off a little. I'm on the super softs, and we've done like 5 laps, which means that they are out of their prime range already. I actually can see a little bit of wear on the fronts. Awesome real-time texture updates as the tire wear increases. Yeah. Lost 2 seconds there with that little bobble in the corkscrew. So what happens, keep it in 3rd gear and just get on the power. Short shifting a little bit to control the wheel spin, but fantastic. Yeah, lifting through the corner there. Honestly, that's down to the tires. Which, again, is pretty accurate. Because what did we hear as soon as these Pirellis were introduced, at the beginning of 2011? Everybody was complaining about the tires. Michael Schumacher in particular was very vocal about that. Said it was like driving behind the safety car sometimes. is our lap time.
The lap was a 1:04.35.
All right. So we're normalizing, but we are losing time now. Again, those tires are not up to snuff. A little bit of oversteer there mid-corner. So be careful. Yep. Rears are gone. But again, that says something about how much downforce the car just generates, because tires are going off and it still has plenty of grip. Could totally do this for an entire race distance.
The lap was a 1:04.67.
Yeah, we're losing about 0.2 a lap now. But look at the front tires. Those textures, I'm not crazy, am I? See, I'm looking at the front tires now and not watching my marks, but I'm not crazy, right? They've been updating as the wear has increased. No? Let's pull up the HUD here. Oh yeah, have a look at those fronts. They're rooted. They're going off like crazy. Got about 5 laps of fuel remaining on board. Let's put a new set of Super Softs on and just see what we could do. Let's do a live pit stop here. Full lock to get into the pit lane. There's our marker. That wasn't our marker. Where the hell is it? Did I miss it? I guess I did. Well, that's humiliating. Huh. Where the hell was our pit crew? It had to be right as I turned in, meaning that I probably can't reach it because the car doesn't have that much steering lock in it. That might be a little bad. I did request the stop. I had to have missed it because I didn't see it. Let's request that again. Yeah, those fronts are rooted. I got no grip now on the front end. Notwithstanding whatever the front wing is generating, but certainly can't push it now. Let's go mode 3. So I effectively just gave myself a drive-through penalty. Oh well. And into the pits again. Deja vu. First gear. Let's go real slow. There it is. I missed it first time around. 3 seconds. That's the pit stop we were looking for. 4 new shoes. There we go. Yeah, have a look at the tires now on the front. Those textures do update with wear. That's brilliant. So we're going to be careful with them on our outlap. Expecting the fuel light to come on any second. This is one-shot qualifying, basically. Still in mode 3. Saving some fuel and being gentle as we bring the tires up. Alright, mode 1, that's brake bias. Mode 1, there we go. And we have liftoff. yeah, so much more grip straight away. That's a little squirrely, but saved it. This car definitely has a 103 in it. Probably not this lap, maybe the next one. What? What? 103.5? What? I was not expecting that. Again, that lap felt very scruffy. In other words, the RB9 is like this. Whatever skill you have, it's going to be amplified by at least a factor of 4. Because, to be honest, that felt like a 105. The car finds speed where the driver can't. Don't lift. No lifting through there. And overcooked it a bit there. Let's dive in the pits, because this is not going to end well. But a 103.5? Are you kidding me? That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen at all. Anyway, the Red Bull RB9. Verdict? Awesome. Better than you, I shall say. I did not expect to get a 103 on that lap. That's a lap record for me at this track in this car, and I'm sure it can do more because holy crap. That's speed like I haven't felt in many cars before. If anybody still plays Gran Turismo, the Red Bull X1, X2010, X2011, whatever the heck they're making now, this car feels similar in many regards. No, it doesn't have the active aero. No, it doesn't have the underbody fans and all of that good stuff. But for an exclusively wing car, you know, running the diffuser and all of that stuff, this thing is something else. I can totally see how it won the World Championship. And, wow, I honestly think you could probably put a GP3 driver in this car and he would be getting podium finishes in 2013 Formula 1. Such is the extent of grip that the thing just finds. Even on worn tires, I was doing 105s around this track. So, yeah, I can totally see how Vettel was able to put together those ridiculously quick race stints and get out of DRS range within a lap. Just staggering. But anyway, yeah, that's it for this review for the moment. And if you want to see any of the other cars, do let me know in the comments. But thank you very much for watching. Fireman601 saying goodbye for now.